Is there anyone who wishes to engage in public participation? Please indicate so. Seeing and hearing none. Lynn is not available tonight. She has a personal matter. So let's go with the beginning of the, to begin with, we have, before we get to the high school, there's an invoice from Continental Clean Air Inc. regarding, I believe this was the third floor.
Third floor air duct cleaning for the public safety building.
Correct. And it is in the amount of $15,525.
I second that for approval.
Is there any questions or discussion?
Did we get a quote on that?
Yes,
By who?
by this company, by Continental Clean Air. This is all the decisions that we made with the leftover money from the public safety building. So this was a recommendation from Bond, and we did it outside the contract.
I think as Chip, as I recall, I think Bond had some estimates as well, and this was less, as I recall.
Correct, yeah, and it's the company that we use for the town.
Mary? Any further questions or discussion? Hearing none, on a motion to approve for Continental Clean Air Inc., the amount of $15,525. Chip,
Yes.
Jason,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Wayne,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Aaron?
yes,
Thank you. Unanimous. So now let's go to the high school. And I wanted to, before we even start, if anybody has any questions about it, I have indicated my concern that we got this very late in the day. And then we got this after 3:39, I believe it was sent out, and that is not appropriate. It's got to be done in a quicker fashion to allow us to read this material, to review this material. I am adamant that this get done, at least give us a day to review this. This is like 50 pages of documents. We should have had it before. But there were some extenuating circumstances regarding that, but I don't want to have this happen again. This should be given to us a day before our meetings. And if the bills aren't ready by then they're going to have to wait till the next month or the next meeting, whatever it may be.
We hear you loud and clear, Joe.
Okay. So the first thing on the agenda, I believe, is a review of the meeting minutes for December 14th, 2023.
I move that we approve the December 14th, 2023 meeting minutes.
I will second.
Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, is there anybody objects to approve of the December 14th, 2023 Permanent Building Committee, School Building Committee meeting minutes? Hearing none, they're approved.
All right, we'll do bills now. I move that we approve the OPM construction left field for the sum of $133,159. Advertising and printing for the sum of $733.70. Another advertising and printing for the sum of $733.70. Another advertising and printing for the sum of $910.80. So the left field total is $135,537.20.
I will second.
Any questions or discussion?
Yeah, quick question. Who reviews these invoices?
We all do. We
We
get
do.
them.
I don't.
Left field invoices get reviewed, approved, and then we all have them. They're in our packet.
Got it earlier today and yesterday.
Yeah, we got it
Yeah,
earlier
this
today.
is
We got it
Earlier
today.
today. This is what Joe was talking about, is that we got it too late. But I quickly went through them. And then, so we review left field reviews his SMAs and bonds and all of that.
Okay, any other questions or discussion? Hearing none. Chip,
Yes,
Jason,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Wayne,
yes,
John,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Aaron,
yes,
I move that we approve SMMA invoice 0060520, the sum of $1,425,468. SMA CWD hazardous materials, $17,294.20. LGCI Geotech, 1,375. LGCI Geotech, 9,735. Rimmer, 2,062.50, for a total of $1,455,934.70.
And Chip, just an FYI, the bottom two are separate invoice number. They're 521 instead of
The
520.
fourth one down is,
Is a different invoice number, but 520 is the invoice for all the same. It's
Mhm.
all SMMA.
Correct.
all right, so I will second the 4 invoices with the 60520 as well as the one with the 60521.
any questions or discussion? Just to let you know, when I reviewed it, I had a very difficult time correlating the bills with the summary here. So this has to be, and then the reason being has to do with this culvert extension, that they're being separated. And it was
Correct.
confusing to review this, which is another reason why we have to have these bills and everything well before the meeting, not 3.5 hours before a meeting. Any other questions or discussion?
Yeah, I mean, Joe, I would just reiterate that all of us are working. So, like, for me to get it 3 hours in advance, I get about 5 minutes before the meeting to take a look at it. It's got to be the day before to look at it that night, minimally.
And I mean it, if
Oh, yeah.
you don't get it a day before and the bill isn't in, it's not gonna be accepted the day of. That's our new rule, or,
so why are we accepting these now then?
well, I was able to take a look at it, but I was only then I was.
You
Yeah, I
just,
looked at it. I looked at
There was
it.
an extenuating circumstance regarding this.
so
That
it could happen again.
if it does, they're not gonna get paid. They're not gonna get approved. This is a fair and adequate warning.
We recognize that as such, and we will do better going forward, absolutely.
Any other discussion? Hearing none. Chip,
Yes,
Jason,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Wayne,
Yes,
John,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Aaron.
yes,
I move that we approve. Nope, don't switch yet. I move that we approve bond building invoice 1204309 for the sum of $28,333.33, as well as bond CXC Consulting for the sum of $6,136.67, for a total of $34,470.
I will second that.
Any questions or discussion? Hearing none. Chip,
Yes,
Jason,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Wayne,
yes,
John,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Aaron,
yes,
unanimous. Okay,
This is left field OPM contract amendment number 3. It is just to formalize the move for the advertisements that were just approved in the previous invoice summary for an amount of 2,378. So
So I move that,
These three.
yep, back. I move that we approve left field OPM contract amendment number 3 for the sum of $2,378.20.
I will second.
Any questions or discussion?
What invoices do these represent? The three in that previous page?
Advertising and
The
printing, yeah.
daily item.
14 plus, doesn't look like it matches the amount.
Yeah, like I was just looking as well, again with the late numbers here, but the invoices that are in the package, unless I'm looking at the wrong thing, are $667, 667, and then 828, not 733, 733, and 910. Am I looking at the wrong information?
Are you adding 10%?
You're exactly right. I think we have a 10%, like a 1.1 multiplier that we
You
put
charge
on.
up on the, oh, okay.
Yeah. I
That's
think
not
it's-
clear. Okay, I got it.
Right, and that was the problem I had with SMMAs and the culvert thing as well. That didn't
Okay.
jive with some of the numbers, which is confusing. Which is another reason why, as I say, gotta get these earlier.
Okay.
Yep, we'll definitely work on two things. One, getting the stuff information to you guys earlier, or you all earlier, and also making it clearer and easier to follow through.
Any other questions or discussions? Hearing none. Chip,
Yes,
Jason,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes,
Wayne,
yes,
John?
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Aaron,
yes,
it's unanimous. Next,
A quick budget update. As of December 31st, we are, still 12% committed. We are have expended 5% of the total project budget. And I would say we're roughly 75% of the way through the 90% construction documents phase.
any questions on a budget update? Hearing none, go ahead.
This is the cash flow as of December 2023, and we are tracking slightly above, but it's basically, we were tracking slightly below before, so it's now starting to even out and align with the forecasted expenditures.
All right,
And I will turn it over to Craig now for the pre-qualifications update.
Yep, thanks, Tim. So just a refresher, this pre-qualifications process is a two-step to get the trade contractors on board. The first step being we pre-qualify them, and the second step is we request bids from them. Due to the timing of the early package, which includes the foundations and the elevator request for qualifications went out first. So that went out back in December. We actually had to do 2 rounds. And out of those 2 rounds, it only yielded 1 statement of qualifications. The state requires us to pre-qualify at least 3. And since we only have 1 to pre-qualify, we can't meet that. And so the town has 3 options. We can reject all of what we received and do it again, which left field would recommend against because we'll probably get the same result. 2, we can invite bids without further pre-qualification. So basically we turn over the scope to Bond and say, Bond, reach out to some contractors and get bids from them. Or if we had 2, then we could at least go forward with those 2, but since we only have 1, that's not even an option. So that's our recommendation, is that we move this scope over to Bonds and then have them solicit contractors. And that's how Bond mentioned that's been the case on a number of projects. The elevator trade contractors just don't participate in the
correct. You need a vote approving you to do that.
I think
it wouldn't hurt. Yeah, it would not hurt.
So I move that we approve left field to push this over for Bond to go after elevator trade contractors.
And I will second.
Any questions or discussion?
Just to clarify, we did 2 rounds for the prequel.
That is correct.
Can I just ask a question? You said
Yeah.
that the state requires 3 to do this. Like, what happens if Bond can't get any more than just this one vendor? to want to work on this? How does that play into this at all?
So this was just the pre-qualification process, and
Okay.
my suspicion is that the elevator trade contractors who are out there just don't want to do this process. They'd rather work directly with a construction manager.
I get it.
and- yeah.
Okay, thanks.
And Dave, I think you're on tonight.
Yeah, we anticipated this. That was one of the reasons why I went early, because we need them on board for coordination with the foundations. This happens every job, to Craig's point. Most of the major elevator subs don't want to deal with filed sub anymore, so they just let this process happen. They know that eventually it'll go to the CM or a GC, and we'll solicit bids for them. I don't think we'll have trouble getting more than the one we have. There won't be a lot, and if there's less than 3, we follow the same state mandated criteria, similar to what Craig mentioned, as if it was a hard bid. So we should have 3, I would think, but I'm confident we'll have at
Who's the
least
one
2.
that did file?
Delta, I
It's
think.
Delta Beckwith.
Okay.
Any other questions or discussion? Hearing none. Chip,
Yes.
Jason,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Bill? All right, Bill?
Yes.
Okay, Wayne,
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Aaron?
Yes.
All right, Craig, you want to continue on this
Yes.
update?
Yep. Thank you, Joe. So the next step is the balance of the trade contractors. We made that RFQ available January 10th. They've got 2 weeks until January 24th to submit their statement of qualifications. We've already received a bunch, and so we're feeling good about it. Once we have all of those in hand, the pre-qualification subcommittee is going to go through them. We'll check references, we'll grade the respondents, and ultimately create that list of pre-qualified trade contractors. Once we've got that list, we'll send out a request for bid, and that's for the main project, so a nice large scope. And that whole process up to the point of getting bids is anticipated to conclude in early May. And then those are the numbers that Bond will select from in order to put together ultimately the GMP. Any questions about that?
I would just state for people that haven't been through this process, on February 15th, at our next meeting, we'll vote to approve the pre-qual subcommittee's recommendation. So you'll see all the companies for all these different subsets, sections that we have pre-qualified and that we're allowing to bid. So you'll vote to approve that list.
Is there a minimum and a maximum number of participants we need?
There's the minimum being 3, and there is no maximum. Some trades will have 10.
There's a qualification. That's why we have the subcommittee to go through them, because there's a qualification process that people have to meet. And as long as they meet it, they can bid it. Can't prevent them from bidding.
What?
Yep.
I have a question about,
Yep.
imagine this is probably a public thing, opposed to private, like it has estimated construction costs on all the trades. Are those amounts given to potential bidder? Like, do they know how much to bid before they bid? Like,
Yes,
where's the competitiveness of, if I'm a mason and I know there's $8 million, what makes me not just bid, $8 million like everyone else?
Your competitor might bid less than you.
Exactly.
And that actually happens.
All the
yeah.
time. These are just for pre-qualification purposes, because you need to be able to like, you don't want a mason who normally does $1 million a year getting an $8 million contract.
Right.
So it helps with that, but none of them pay attention really to the estimated cost. It's what they take off.
Okay.
And Phil, even when you bid a normal project, the central register will have the estimated cost on the proposed construction. So
they can find it out anyways.
There's
Yeah.
it's always out there. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
All right, any other questions or discussion? All right. Next.
Tim, what do we got next?
There you go. It was just being slow, sorry. All right, next we have materials testing inspection services procurement. We will be we will be soliciting for proposals from construction materials testing companies. They're the ones who do like steel testing and concrete and all of that to make sure that it's to the specifications outlined by SMMA and their consultants and the contract documents. So this is a standard procurement we do for these projects. We will be soliciting on the 17th with responses due on the 31st. We will be reviewing them first couple weeks of February and bring them to approval at the next the PBC meeting.
And if I can add on a small caveat, so Chapter 30 defaults to the IFB process, invitation for bid process. In order to do a request for proposal process, we need a written determination from the awarding authority's chief procurement officer. And so that's something that we still have to get. And since we don't have it in hand right now, this January 17th might move a week, slip out a week, but we're going to work to keep that February 15th. This is, as Chip was mentioning before, there's a vote for the pre-qual process. We'll be looking for this building committee to vote to approve the selection of our materials testing and inspection company. And so we're going to work to keep that date. So the 15th, you'll have those two votes to take.
As I recall, I may be wrong, but I always thought the chief procurement officer would be with the DPW. Isn't that correct?
So, so I reached out to Ann Waite, who is that person, and hadn't heard anything back, and thought, all right, maybe let me check with town council. So earlier today, I shot an email over and heard back. Town council thinks reported that the town administrator is actually that person. So tomorrow
Okay.
I'll reach out to Steve Mayo's office.
Okay, sounds good. All right, then we should be able to get it in time for the 17th.
He's away this week,
The way.
but it's Thursday, Friday, so he'll be back Monday is my understanding.
Okay. All right, any other questions regarding this construction inspection material testing services? I assume this is in our estimate and everything. This isn't anything extra, correct?
This
Yep.
is in our budget, yes.
It's in the budget, yes.
All right. Next.
Craig, would you like to go over kind of this update?
Sure. So zoning board of appeals decision is in the works. The meeting was held on December 13th, and they found in favor of relieving the project of the few items that we were not complying with. And as I mentioned, that decision is being written up now.
It's written, isn't it?
I saw a draft circulating over email, but not finalized yet.
What's in the package?
It's
I
the draft.
thought that's a draft.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's the draft.
That wasn't clear. Okay.
Yeah, sorry about that. So I think we're close to having that finalized, which will be great. Next, the Conservation Commission, I believe the last time they met was December 19th. Between then and now, the order of conditions has been sort of handed around, and some revisions were made. The final version, I believe, was made available today, and so that will be recorded with the Registry of Deeds.
Okay.
And that's the third bullet point there.
Have you sent that to town council as well?
I believe SMMA picked it up earlier today, but I can coordinate with them offline.
Would you make sure that it goes to town council, because Mr. Mayor
Absolutely.
is on vacation? And
Yep.
this has to be filed with the Register of Deeds as soon as possible.
You got it.
Is Aaron from SMA on?
No, she's not available this evening.
Ellen, have you looked at it? Is there anything in the order that we're concerned about?
Well, this is actually the second go around. We did pick up something that was different than what was discussed. And so what's come around now was corrected by the Concom when they met their last meeting. So
So
this
you're
should be
good
good to
with,
go.
you're good with this. This is
That
what
is
you were
correct.
expecting.
That is
Okay.
correct. Yes.
That's all I care about.
Okay, Craig, just make sure we get this to town council so that he can make arrangements to have it filed with the
Will do.
reg. All right?
Yep.
And that whole order of conditions was attached as just for your reference. We don't have to, in no action for us at this time. Okay?
Yep.
Next.
And Helen, was Brian still planning on presenting tonight or?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
I'm
If-
here actually twice. So if you could, Tim, give
Yeah.
this guy over here, the one that doesn't say SMA at the bottom,
Okay.
ability to share screen.
I
Give
That'd be great.
Brian's
I
permission to
think Joe
share.
has to transfer it. I can't do it.
I know, it's scary. There's two of me.
What
Um,
one
You're
do
at
you-
opposite
clone
angles.
yourself.
Tough enough when there's
Since
one.
you're a schizophrenic, which one do you want here?
So
We got it.
let me
Alright,
just
there
go
you go.
full screen.
All right.
Full screen. Please. There it is. Okay. So this is a topic that we reviewed with the working group on Tuesday. So Joe, Chip, and Tom have seen these materials. They thought it would be good if we could brief the full committee on what we talked about and to see if there might be any need for further discussion. So it's a familiar topic. It's one that we have grappled with in terms of delivering and working still toward delivering the all-electric design of the building on a pretty constrained footprint. So what that means is there's a lot of competition for rooftop space between mechanical equipment and basically the code required 40% of the area to be left aside for future installation of the solar panels on the roof. That's through the power purchase agreement with the utility. So we have struggled to come up to the 40% level. And in the last round, we looked at, we actually have removed a bit of roof screen on the academic building. And we're continuing to work toward the solution here. And we feel that we've kind of run out of options on the northern half of the building, the right-hand half, because it's so sort of broken up into bits, and finding viable space for the PVs is diminishing there. And we feel that we really need to work more on the academic wing to push mechanical so that we can get to the code required area. What that means is, as you see here, we propose to remove the roof screen, rooftop visual screen of mechanicals that is on top of what we call A and B wings, the L-shaped academic wing. So that's the piece in yellow. And so if we do that, then we feel confident we can get up above that 40% and hopefully a little bit above, because we still have a little bit of design work to go here. So what does that mean? It means we are not at all proposing to touch the west and south facing roof screen, which does shield from view the fairly large mechanical equipment on that academic wing. So that's the sort of terminating piece on the top, the sort of light warm gray that has some ribbing to it. It looks fairly organic and hopefully tries to disappear into the background a bit. So that is not at all what we're talking about removing. What we're talking about is at the back. And so we took a view which is basically at the axis, the center line of Beasley Oval, where it intersects Hemlock Road. And so we're looking back at the building. Again, at the top, you can see the screens that have been in the project all along. And you can see at this point, we're starting to go up the slope there. toward the Voke. And you can see this is the point where we still have no visible mechanical equipment on the roof, except there's one stack that comes from the science wing. These are the prep rooms between the two science wings. So that's an exhaust stack, which will remain. We don't feel that it's unusual for a school to have such an element. As we move up to almost the flat of the hill, so this is about the point where you're at the edge of the parking across from Landrigan. The crosswalk, you can sort of see those lines below. And again, the screens are shielding all of the equipment at the back of those wings. There are also very large trees there. So for most of the year, a lot of the building will be shielded from view, even at this location. So cars that are coming down the hill, where you might get a glimpse in the winter. And so we actually took those trees away completely to give a more fair understanding of the kind of equipment we're talking about. So some big air handlers are basically what you see. You do not see the roof surface. We have looked at this more carefully recently because we have the upcoming early bid package, which includes structural steel. Structure is very closely tied to this element. We have supporting steel that has kickers. And not only that, the screens add basically a level of wind load to our structure that needs to be accommodated in diagonal bracing down through the building. So we looked at what we could save the project in terms of the combination of the screen removal and the structure removal. And we come up, and Bond helped us to generate this number of something around 559,000, which if we go past this sort of Rubicon of going out to bid for steel, you're unlikely to get that value back in the future. So we're putting this value back into the project, and hopefully we see a lot of it maintained in terms of a savings down the road. But this is, the proposal that's on the table. I'm happy to go back through any of this for anyone that wants to see a particular view. And there you have it.
Don't you have to remove this to hit the 40%? I mean, I think
We feel we do. We feel we've run out of other
that-
areas too.
Yeah, I mean,
that's really the driver. Yes, Chip.
Really the driver is that
It
to
is.
meet the 40%, the best scenario would be to leave it, but then we don't meet the 40%. So we kind of have to remove it and accept these savings, or at least that's what we decided from the working group. But we thought it was a big enough item to show everybody and to have everybody understand the thought process behind it.
Bill,
Yeah.
you raise your hand.
Oh, hey, does the 40% mean the site has to have 40% or the physical building? Like
It's a portion of the roof. It's the fraction of the roof that
it
needs
has
to be
roof. Okay, because
set aside for future PVs.
Okay, because like if you go by like the Stoneham Zoo or if you drive down by JP, there are many parking lots that have solar arrays over parking spaces. And we have this Landrigan Field that we see the corner of here. There's no capacity to put a solar array to because I'm asking because we have all the space on the ground, not much on the roof. And how does this affect future growth of the school? Because doesn't there have to be a capacity to renovate the school at a later date to make it bigger, that there has to be some structure in place, and we're using every square inch, we're taking things away to fit these panels. How is that going to affect future growth of this building? For some reason I thought that there was a requirement for that, but maybe I'm wrong on that second part. But can we look at parking lot arrays instead and for a variance of some sort, and how does that affect future renovation of the building requirements?
Sure. Once again, I wish Aaron were here to speak to this ground mounted PVs. I think that's a topic that was discussed earlier on, there is quite an expense to building that infrastructure at the ground. And it's not something that the design team has carried through to this point. So anything we would look at as an element on the ground would be additional to the project. But I do know that WMGLD, it will have that future microgrid, which is being constructed up the hill to the back of Landrigan Field. I'm not sure of the quantity that's there, but really what we're focused on here is a code designation or basically a carve out for area of the roof that we do have. Now, if we were to add on elements in the future, that could potentially be additional area that roof area that could be included in the future, and then tied into the main system. We had a scheme that extended the end of the building so that you basically get another bay of structure extending out from the back. So you would have a bit of roof on top of that, which could then be fitted with more PVs.
Okay, is that accurate, Phil?
Yeah, I guess kind of. I really think the exploration of the ground solar arrays, which are going up everywhere, I'm very interested in the follow-up on why that wasn't looked at all, or if it wasn't looked at because it bears nothing in this 40%, then so be it. But again, we're cramming a lot on this roof, and I worry about the maintenance and the long-term wear and tear of the roofing. And then again, the second part, I'm not really sure what the answer was about. I thought that part of building this building is if we ever get bigger as a town and need to expand the building, there needs to be sort of built-in structure to be able to build another building. You mentioned that another bay somewhere, you're designing another bay off the back of the building. Can you point to where that is?
It would be at, so it would be at the back of this A-wing here.
Where's that? I'm having trouble. Isn't the brook right there?
No.
Isn't that conservation right there? Or the softball field? I'm having trouble from this
No,
angle.
you're at the wrong end. The softball field is at the far end with the athletic. It's not at the academic wing.
This is on the Hemlock side looking down.
Right.
Right, like the back of that building seems to me like it would be like where the conservation land is.
It's getting close. It's getting close.
Getting close, but that's where the expansion's possible is there.
Right, and we have not designed the expansion. We've just indicated where the extension could be. So it might be coming, say, off the side of that wing, and it would be disruptive. There would be some circulation that would need to connect, to another piece that would come off. So, if that piece were pocketed in, it would be sort of in this corner here. And it's really just a couple of bays that would give you, maybe 6 classrooms. I forget what the number was that we included in the early studies, but I can dig that up again.
Yeah, right. It was really early on. That's where I remember. I forget what it was. I remember really early on there was talks about it. So I've just been curious, and yeah, I don't know. I don't build these things, but to me, it would seem a lot easier to put a bunch of structure and solar canopies in a parking lot rather than try to tie it into the structure of a building. But I don't build these things. So thanks.
All right, Wayne, you had a question?
Yeah, as far as that screening, is that under consideration for value engineering to save some money, possibly?
So that one was, but again, because it has a structural component to it, that when bids go out, the early bids for steel, we're kind of locking ourselves into that element. So
Are we locked into that now?
How do you mean?
Is the structural steel part of that?
So,
bid?
so Wayne, so for example, let me paint a picture here. If the steel went out to bid, right, and then we kept going along with the project because we're only at 90% of the rest of the building. We go to completion and then the bids come in for the rest of the building and we say, okay, we want to value engineer the steel. Well, it's already gone for bid and it's been awarded. So you can't get that structural line item back at that point. So which is why we would reduce the value now. We would reduce the scope of the project in terms of the steel by that figure that I showed now, so that the project might see some savings after all.
So is the screening going, is it going up? Is it yes or no?
No,
Not in
Wait,
that back area.
wait. Is the screening that is shown right now on the plan going up? The answer is yes.
but
There
not,
is screening.
that's,
Not the piece that it's about to come off when Brian
back
puts
there,
his
yep.
cursor again.
This screening here, Wayne, that bit right there is the piece that we propose to take away.
But there's still screening on 70%, all the front and some of the sides.
we just, and we,
Right.
and the working group wanted to make
This-
sure that the members of the committee see this, so that you will be seeing, if you're up in Landrigan Field and up in the upper areas, you will be seeing rooftop units. We wanted to make sure that everybody in the committee understood that. Unless there was a huge objection to it.
But we also need to take it off so that we can meet the 40% for.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a no-brainer. We have to meet the 40%.
Right, we can save $500,000 and meet the 40%.
Are the solar panels going on during construction? This is just to make it solar ready.
Correct.
Solar ready, right?
The
They'll go on
code,
after
yeah.
we're completed.
Right, the code requirement is solar ready at the 40% level. But at WMGLD has committed to the project to provide these solar panels. So when exactly they will be installed, that's another matter.
Yeah, we don't have a date yet.
We don't have a date yet.
We don't have a building yet, so that doesn't really matter.
It's hard to install them without a building, yes.
Well, I don't know if I don't know if it came into play in terms of building the building. Is there any benefit to having those panels go up while it's being built rather than afterwards? So I know we don't have a building, but more of like,
It has to come after, because I think from a constructual point of view of people working there that aren't bond subs and things like that, but we can certainly look at that, Phil, if there's any advantage to putting them on as we go.
Yeah, I think the
And they
timing,
may, I don't know what they're thinking.
right, and I know a lot of balls in motion. And then once they're up, eventually, if they do go up, they will help block some of the mechanicals that are now being exposed with the lack of screening. Because now we're gonna have solar panels possibly.
Little bit.
Maybe.
Yep.
Yeah, they're pretty low profile, Phil.
Low profile. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
All right.
Are there questions or discussion? Anybody else? Okay, so we saved $500,000 tonight.
Thank you.
Good job. Someone's got to say it. Good job.
Phil, everybody on the group gets a raise, 10%.
Right,
Yeah,
yeah.
let's spend it real quick on
No,
something
no.
else before.
I suggest we double our salaries.
Yeah.
Okay. The next meeting is now. Are we meeting on the 26th? That's the next question. Is it 26th? I know
muted.
the discussion
That's not
when
a
I had
meeting.
with, when I
That's
had with
just when the
Lynn,
90% go to pricing.
right, when I had with Lynn, there was some question whether we would meet in 2 weeks. I talked to her today. Do we know any reason why we would have the meeting on the 25th?
Were we planning a page turn of the 90% set?
Yes.
But we don't know when that is yet, right?
right,
No,
and
we haven't got a date yet.
So there's a couple of things happening on the 26th. We will issue the 90% set to the estimators and issuing bid package 2. So possibly that's what Lynn was thinking about with respect to a need to meet prior. I will say that we are QCing that set right now. Bond is also looking at it. So I don't know how much more purview this group would want of that second early package.
And also, Helen, sorry to add on, but I think we had talked preliminarily of having that page turn sometime after the 26th. There'll be
That's correct.
a few weeks where the cost estimators are, busy doing their thing, and the design team will be available to sit down with this group or the working group or whoever needs to be there and do that page turn.
Correct.
It'll
We
be
thought
whoever
we'd,
wants to
yeah.
join for that.
Whoever wants to join can join on the page turn. Okay?
So
this-
someone will send out a message about that when the time comes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thanks. Yeah.
So
And
it'll
we'll hold
be
that
after,
in person, probably at the public safety building.
right, it'll be at the community room in the public safety building. And we'll do it after the 26th. Okay?
Correct.
Is that okay with everyone?
Yep.
All right. Anything else?
I think that's it.
Okay, Tim, one other thing before I go, and I just, at the working group meeting, there was a discussion of electric vehicle chargers and the cost involved in them, and it was very involved, and I don't want to get into it. But yesterday, I read in the paper that the federal government was providing states with billions of dollars to build and make electric vehicle chargers. And one of the places where they're providing money is at a school. So I'm requesting Left Field, SMMA, Bond, and I will talk to Mr. Mayo, who will talk to our representatives to find out if there is any money available through the federal government to put in electric vehicle chargers at a school, the high school.
So
Joe,
Joe,
do you
just
know-
quick,
was that the Fair Share Act by any chance? Was that what that was referencing?
I don't know. The article did not give a name to it,
Okay.
as to
It's-
what exactly it was.
it's
but
also part of that funding bill that they put out last year. That part, some comes from the infrastructure and some comes from, I can't remember what the second one was called. But basically, we have been evaluating that, Joe. They just have not put out any. They have said that the money is set aside. In terms of how you actually access the money, they have not finalized those plans yet. So we're kind of in a holding pattern until the IRS issues the guidelines on that type of stuff.
As I indicate, I want it researched, and I will also speak to town council, who will talk to our state reps. And let's find out, because those things are expensive.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Wayne, you had a hand up, or is it still up from before, or
Down.
down? Okay. Anybody have anything else?
I move that we adjourn.
I second.
And all in favor, click leave meeting, and we'll let everybody know when the page turn is. Take care, everybody.